I lost a pretty good amount of money trading my own personal futures account. And then in the summer of 23 is when I found prop firms. It's so easy to lose. If you're going to tilt and you're going to blow an account, it doesn't matter if you have 5,000 drawdown or 2,000 drawdown, you're going to blow it because something snaps in us.
What do you think other retail traders are getting wrong consistently?
They're afraid.
Do you mind sharing how much you've made in prop firm payouts?
250,000, if I remember right, on Apex. 300,000 this year on Apex.
So a little over $500,000 in payouts so far. That's incredible. So you've spent almost 200,000 in prop firm eval fees and renewals?
Yes.
That's insane. All right, John, appreciate you joining us here today. What are you doing at the moment? Can you explain like what is this what crops are you sowing at the moment?
Well, right now I'm just plowing a field. I'm just being a stereotypical farmer. Just out plowing a field.
I love it. So I'm glad we did the setup.
This will be turned into a cornfield.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I see. When do you guys typically plant?
Like a week ago.
Oh, you already started. Okay, I see.
No, we haven't started. It's just really been a terrible spring.
I see. Okay, so you're behind.
Very behind. Yep.
Got it. So give us a sense of your background here. We know you're a farmer. This is obviously a big part of your handle online, but you got into trading futures. Give us the background here, both as a farmer and your process of and journey of becoming a trader.
Can be a long story short, I guess. I have my bachelor's in mathematics, so I was always interested in finance, the finance side of things. Even when I was a little kid, I've always been a saver, and so I started taking some finance classes when I was in college, I'm 36 years old, so that's been quite a few years now.
Sure.
But I graduated college in 2011, so that got me interested in it, doing some investment classes, learning about stocks. I kind of dabbled in like just holding a few shares of Apple or Amazon for, 5-10 years after college. And then I decided to just try to get after it, and start learning. I started doing penny stocks and found like some penny groups on Telegram and stuff like that. And then after, natural progression of things, then you find options after that, and lose a bunch of money at options because you don't win at options very easily. And after options, I still trade options now, but I slowed down a lot and tried futures. Lost a decent amount of money at futures. This is like 2022, end of 22, I think it was, when I tried futures for the first time. And by that point, I was pretty decent at charting. But charting, as you guys know, is not the main problem with trading.
That's right.
I lost a pretty good amount of money trading my own personal futures account. And then in the summer of 23 is when I found prop firms. So continued trading terribly then on prop firms. So I lost less money, but still lost money.
Right.
I'm sure I'm describing many, many people's journey so far.
We can all relate for sure.
Everybody can relate. It's so easy to lose. But so I got my first Apex payout in, I think it was November or December of 23. And there's different ways.
About 5 months into trading prop, you got your first payout.
Props, yep.
Yeah.
And there's different ways to define profitability. I would call profitability that over a month period you make more than you lose. So if you define profitability as making more than you lose over a month's period of time on average, then I started getting profitable trading late spring of 24, I would say.
Okay.
I didn't become green overall from trading until early fall of 24. So it took all summer of grinding, blowing accounts, getting payouts, blowing accounts, getting payouts to start feeling like I was going the right direction mentally and get back to actually making money. So since I started back with Apex in November of 24, as has been documented on my Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
that was, I was all fully green by then overall. And so that, I'm sure that mentally helped me take that hurdle to take those to a few $100,000 in payouts. So, and
I
then
love it. So,
doing all that
oh, go
stuff
ahead.
has just kind of gotten me to where I probably trade too reckless. Obviously, trade too reckless still, uh, but it's just easy come, easy go. I guess is how I look at it.
So it's funny. I would have assumed that you got into futures because you're in farming, and I know
Right?
every futures example tends to show how farmers can hedge against crop losses by using the futures market. But that
Yep. No, I've never done any of that.
wasn't your introduction. Is that correct?
That's
Uh,
correct. That.
I, I
Yep.
I'm glad to hear that you kind of took more of a traditional path with some background and education in it as well. Um,
Right.
so I'm curious, what would you say was kind of the aha moment then by 2024? What do you think really got you over the hump there?
You just get sick of losing, I guess.
I think we all
You
do for sure, but there had to have
you
been
start.
some kind of, was it a change in technique or a change in risk management?
It's mostly just discipline. I've there's quite a few accounts that I built up pretty good size over that winter, 23 into 24 and early
Uh-huh.
spring. There was a couple of Apex accounts that I traded flawlessly for a month or longer, and built the balances up to $70,000 or something, and took 5 payouts from the same account, and then blew it.
Yeah.
And you blow big balances like that. Obviously, it takes a mental strain, but I tried to look at it as obviously I can do this. It's the losing side of it that you need to work on. So that's what I tried to focus on, is not letting my losses overtake me. But it still happens to the best of us. It happened to me today. So
So, out of curiosity, do you trade from the tractor then? I like how you're multitasking here, doing a whole interview while you're
right.
plowing, but is that how you trade as well?
Not very often. I try not
No.
to, because I'm much more loose with stop losses and stuff. I'm sitting in a tractor because I pull my phone out and try to move a stop loss. It takes a little more time than clicking a mouse.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I try not to.
That makes
I
sense.
have. I have for sure.
How would you describe your trading style? Are you more scalping or with the prop accounts?
Definitely more scalping, because again, that's what I found works for Apex, is
Okay.
taking quick profits, because then you don't have to worry about the trailing drawdown as much.
Sure.
Uh, so like, for example, with Apex, I always run a 5 point profit, and the 10 point stop is my go-to ATM on NinjaTrader. And I'll often move the profit up, and I will move the stop up if I'm in good profit, but I do not move the stop down. That's a
Right.
no-no, you know. Um, but the way I look at it is, if you're gonna tilt and you're gonna blow an account, it doesn't matter if you have 5,000 drawdown or 2,000 drawdown, you're gonna blow it, because something snaps in us, and we just have no rhyme or reason to our entries and stuff like that. So
Got it. What assets do you typically trade?
uh, only NQ.
Only NQ. So just
Yeah,
one or two NQ contracts, or how do you size?
yeah, one to three generally.
Uh-huh.
Again, once you start losing, it's pretty easy to jump to five, and that's recipe for disaster generally.
Yep, generally that's true. Which
Yeah,
is why I stopped trading NQ at some point and just do the MNQ because it's just
yep.
too reckless. But hey, if it's working for you, keep it going. You said
I actually
earlier you said you do a 5 point take and a 10 point stop. Is that
generally.
because yeah, you see so your win rate's high enough to kind of overcome that asymmetry?
Right. Yep.
Got it. What is your
Yep.
win rate typically?
I couldn't tell you because I don't keep track of it.
Enough to not worry about a 10-point loss, obviously.
Right. I mean, if you trade one NQ, a 10-point loss is only $200. So if you know, if I stay properly sized, a loss isn't going to mentally set me back. It doesn't. A $200 loss emotionally doesn't really bother me.
Right.
If I take $1,000 loss, that adds up quicker in your mind and
Yep.
makes you get a little more reckless. So that's why I try to keep it small, and as long as I'm patient with entries, and if I'm, for example, if I'm looking at a breakout that I see happening, I will generally try to time a pullback in that breakout and grab it as it's falling. So when it reverses quick to keep going, it runs to my target instead of entering while it's running, and then you get a pullback or falls back to 10 points and whips your stop out from under you, which
So
is very common.
is it reversals that you're mostly trading?
No, it's not. I wouldn't call it reversals by any means. I trade everything. I'm not an ICT. I'm not any like special strategy or anything like that. It's just,
Just
hey,
price
it looks
action.
like looks like that price wants to go up, so I'm gonna go along when I get a good little pullback here,
Okay.
and then if
So
if
kind
it
kind
doesn't
of
go, then I
support and
get a stop.
resistance, but basically just price action.
It's mostly price action, and then I base, I look at support and resistance just mentally at
Hmm.
candles that are on the chart, and then uh, I do look at trend lines as well, and I trade on a 5 minute chart, and then I usually try to keep in mind what the hourly and the 15-minute candles look like as well.
Got it. So frame though, after you've done the higher time frame analysis,
Yeah, I only trade on the 5 minute.
5 minute chart. Got it.
Yep.
That makes sense. So what are you doing at the moment to stay more consistent and disciplined?
Um, I don't. I feel like every time I go to more accounts like I've been doing, I get a little less disciplined. So I just got 2 Apex payouts in a row, and I feel like that's mostly based on me not having a lot of accounts outside of Apex. So I just hit my profit, took my 2 trades for the day, and headed out the door.
Got it.
I think minimizing trading is definitely a big part of staying disciplined.
Yeah, that's a really good point there. It's really easy to overtrade, and taking a few
Yep.
good trades can lead to long-term success anyway. So
Yep.
it sounds like you said so. You're done after that $100 profit, and you're moving on to the next day. Is that about right?
No, I will move it up. Like yesterday, I took 1 trade with 3 contracts, and I grabbed 10 points. I think it was.
Okay, gotcha.
Like I said, I will move the profit up when I enter
Yeah,
if I like a little bit more than 5 points, but I don't move the stop down. So, like
that
that
makes
trade, if
perfect
I
sense.
take a 15-point target, if it runs 10 points, I'm going to move the stop up pretty close. To,
Yeah, so
to
with that
secure
trailing
some
stop, you've
profit.
got a good opportunity to let some of your winners ride, and then still
Yep.
stay under the consistency rule, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
Awesome. How are you managing that, by the way? Do you have just one big winning day and then you just stay under that amount for the rest of your trading days?
No, generally, if like starting new accounts, I'll set like an $8,000 profit target over the 8 days and try to make $1,000 a day.
Sure.
That's just shut it down after that. Like for the last payout I did, it was, I think my biggest day was $920, so I had to make $3,100. So that's what I did. Made the
Yep.
minimum and got the payout.
I love it. I love it.
So
So what do you think other retail traders are getting wrong consistently?
they're afraid
Fear. Okay.
here.
What do you mean by that?
Ask yourself this. Are you making trading harder than it needs to be? If you're trading manually or still coding just to connect to your broker, yeah, it's time to upgrade. TradersPost lets you automate trades using signals from tools like TradingView or TrendSpider or even your own custom setup. It works with brokers like TradeStation, Trade.Coinbase, and a bunch more. I've been using it myself, and getting started was smooth. The platform's clean, setup's quick, and once it's running, it just works. And when you're ready to scale, adding more strategies, plugging into prop firm accounts, or juggling multiple portfolios, TradersPost handles it. It's built to grow with you. Start your free trial at TradersPost.io. Trade smarter, automate your edge.
You're trading afraid. So many people message me, like, oh, like yesterday I showed the trade example of what I did to get that $600 profit on Apex. And I remember one guy messaged me and said, I would enter that same trade, but when I enter it, it reverses and goes down and hits my stop. So he's constantly afraid that that's going to happen. So my response to that was, you need to set your stop so that you are comfortable losing that amount.
Right.
If you enter the trade accepting your loss to begin with, you're much less likely to lose. Let what you see initially on the chart play out. If it falls back to your stop, so be it. Be okay with that before you enter.
Yeah, I love that. So essentially, you're not a victim of the loss aversion problem that I think many of us get into, where we let our losers ride and let them run for so much longer than they really should.
That's definitely something I've gotten over. That's a big part of probably what turned me around, was not letting losers run. I still am working on the over trading losers, not over trading when you take a few losses in a row and then trying to make it all back quick. That's still a mental battle for sure.
Yep. It's a process for all of us. It's funny, we're all learning the same thing.
Right.
So if you had to start all over again, let's just say from scratch and day one again, would you do things differently?
I'd do things 100% differently.
What do you think are the biggest lessons there?
Ever since I found prop firms, I said that if I were to do it all over again, I would start trading with prop firms, and that's it.
Yep.
Until you learn what to do, because the risk barrier to entry is so much less with prop firms. You learn a lot of big lessons that feel mentally large when you blow these sums of money, but you're really only losing $1,000 or $500 or something. So
just the cost of the accounts.
But a much nicer start to trading would be to have started with prop firms.
Yep, I completely agree there.
Yep.
So a lot of our audience is exploring automated strategies and automated execution. Do you have any parts of your approach that you think could be systematized or turned into an algo?
I really don't.
No. It's a lot of intuition trading for you, right?
It's definitely intuition trading.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. What about just the automation of execution across multiple accounts? Are you using any kind of trade synchronization?
I use NinjaTrader to trade, so I use Replicanto as my copy trader.
That makes sense.
And then, as you probably saw with my post yesterday, that I'm starting to support that Icarus algo.
Yeah.
That trades through TradersPost as well. So.
Yep, we did see that.
I'm getting familiar with you guys.
Yeah, and we can do the Replicanto style approach as well. It just doesn't happen from Ninja system. And as a result, we can connect all your prop firm accounts together. That's how I'm doing it every day. I have a bunch of automated strategies, and then I have a manual approach, and I trade from the trading view charts. So there's a few different ways to do it, but it'll be exciting to kind of follow up and see how the Icarus strategy is working out for you. I want to keep an eye on that on Twitter.
I'll be posting that every day.
By the way, thank you for your transparency. By the way, I think your whole story on Twitter has been really awesome to follow, and anybody who's interested, definitely get in touch with John and his handle on Twitter. We'll put your links here in the show notes at the end.
Appreciate it. I started posting on Twitter as literally just because to help keep myself more accountable, as I was starting to feel like I was trading better, and to show people what can happen if you do finally round that bend a little bit and right your ships, for lack of better words. And I'm no different than anybody else.
Yeah, no, it's the right way to look at it.
I spent years losing, and I've had a great run, great almost year now that I've traded pretty well, and I just want to show other people that it's entirely possible.
So at this point, you've definitely made back all the costs that you outlaid in fees to the prop firms, but have you also made back what you lost in the live accounts prior to all that too?
Yes.
That's awesome. So you're well in the black at this point.
Well in the black now. Yep. I was
Do you mind?
well into the black by the end of the year. This year, I was in the black before I started back with Apex in November.
Oh, that's
Overall,
fantastic. Yeah. Congratulations on that.
yeah, it definitely feels quite good.
No question. What are we doing all this for if we don't end up in the black, right?
Exactly. All
Yeah,
just a bunch of stress for no reason otherwise.
that's right. Do you mind sharing how much you've made in prop firm payouts?
I don't know if I have my exact total off the top of my head. With Apex, I think on my taxes last year it was 250,000 if I remember right on Apex, and then this year I made uh it'd be another 200,000 or no 300,000 this year on Apex,
So
and
a little
then
over $500,000 in payouts so far.
yep, and I'd say probably lifetime is around 200,000 on Apex for my fees. I would guess. I've blown a lot of accounts. No two ways about that.
That's incredible. So you've spent almost 200,000 in prop firm eval fees and renewals.
Yes.
That's insane.
Yep.
So I didn't realize it had added that up that much for you. Were you mainly trading like $50,000 or $100,000?
I started out doing the 50s for a while. Um, I've settled on the 150,000s. They just have a little bit more drawdown,
Yep.
and they're fairly easy to pass still. Give a $9,000 target on them.
Yeah.
And they're cheap with Apex once they run their sales. So
Sure.
other accounts, I usually do 50,000s because they're cheaper. Other prop firms, I mean. But with Apex, I try to run the 150s.
Got it. Okay. So kind of switching gears back to your trading style, given that it's more sort of intuition based, do you have any indicators that you use that help with the process?
No, I don't really. I have you can see on charts I posted on Twitter, I've got the 5 and the 8 EMA
Mm-hmm.
that are um, on my chart. I don't really necessarily use them at this point.
Sure.
I do reference them a little bit because they've been on my chart for so long, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like I don't like say, oh, it's over the 5 or the 8 EMA is over the 5 EMA, so I'm going to go long, or I don't do anything like that. It's just they're like guide rails
Yeah.
that are there
Yeah. That makes
at
sense.
this point. So
Does volume ever play a role?
no, I don't look at volume.
No. Okay.
No,
Interesting.
no. I just try to, if there's candles that are, if a candle's trying to tell me that, a big gray bar for continuation, and then the next candle is a bearish engulfing candle on that, then I'm going to short the shit out of that. Or sorry, am I not supposed to swear?
No, you're fine. You're fine.
All right, I would short the hell out of that, and because that's, it's telling me that the bears are in control. They just bearish engulfed a strong candle, you know. So I just kind of look for stuff like that. If that bullish candle again had another one follow it
Mm-hmm.
in that direction, then I would look for a pullback on that to keep going long with it. But if it pulls a reversal and cancels out, for lack of better words, cancels a bullish candle like that, then I'd start looking short.
Okay. So that makes
And vice
sense.
versa.
In addition to the support and resistance, then you're doing a little bit of candle analysis as well. Then
Yep. Yep.
mainly engulfing candles, or are there other styles you're looking for?
No, just anything in general. I just try to have a good mind for different kind of patterns and stuff that candles put out there.
Yep.
Like a big one is the fractals. That if it's they're generally the sign of a reversal. So quite often on trend days, if they're trending up, you'll have a red fractal at the top that's supposed to signify a pullback. And on trend days, those red fractals would just get run over and canceled out. And it's just telling you again that the market is strong. The bulls are strong. The bulls are in control. So just
Okay.
keep longing.
So what's your goal over the next year or so? Are you hoping to kind of scale up from here, get to live accounts, or are you just going to keep trading prop? What's the next mission?
I haven't gotten that far yet, I guess.
Okay.
I'd like to just keep it going. My main goal is probably just to keep working on my discipline, to blow less accounts and hold them longer while maintaining payouts instead of burning through accounts as bad as I did in April and March and April. So nobody likes doing that.
Getting on the larger accounts helps because you have a lot more drawdown room and wiggle room, but obviously trading less helps as well, right? Yep. Have you considered sizing down, or do you feel like the size you're at right now still makes sense?
Sizing down in what regard?
Like you could trade the micros instead of the NQ and take a little less, take a little bit longer to get to each profit target.
I've dabbled in it going back down to NQ some, but I feel like for me mentally, when I trade down to NQ, I end up averaging more and trading heavier because I feel like the contracts are so small that I don't feel like I'm accomplishing enough.
That makes sense. Yeah.
That's how I settled on the one NQ 10-point stop, 5-point profit, because a 5-point profit, yeah, it's only 5 points, but it's a fairly easy amount of points to grab on NQ if it's not too volatile. And it's $100, so like just for example, last spring, I remember one of my accounts I had that I ran up to 70,000 or whatever, fairy dollars, because they didn't end up being real other than 5 payouts. But I remember one day, just to prove that I could do it, I traded, I think it was 35 contracts. I got 35 wins for $100 each to make $3,500 that day. just random things like that I've done. It's like, I know I can do it. It's just a matter of keeping mentally strong to not let losses take over and stuff like that. So
Yep. So around the subject of discipline or even trading style, have there been any books or channels or YouTube or anything that you followed that have helped along the way?
So I'd say I don't watch any YouTubes. I've never watched any traders trade live. I've never watched YouTube videos on how to trade or anything like that. I'd say one of the biggest things that helped me was reading The Best Loser Wins, and I recommend that to everybody that ever messages me or anything like that. So have you ever read that book? Usually no. It's read it like 3 or 4 times a year. It's going to help you. I just read it 3 or 4 weeks ago. I think it was for the first time this year. And I think that's part of what helped me kick my mind back into gear to get the last couple payouts. And it helped me with, it's like I said, I still trade options. So it helped me with my Tesla options this past 2 weeks ago, and with holding a large position, huge profit sitting open. Me from a year ago would have been like trying to sell that as fast as I possibly could, and just take the 100% gain or $10,000 gain and be like, woo, made a bunch of money, and then but I think part of how I held them this past week was because I had recently read that book, and it was fresh in my mind. Like, why would you want to sell this if Tesla is showing all the signs that it wants to keep running?
Mm-hmm.
It just takes the patience to hold it. That's all you got to do. So I just, held it.
I love it. And that's ultimately what it takes, is that discipline, like you said. I got to be honest, I've read over 100 books on trading and I haven't heard of this one. So I'm going to give this one a read as well.
You've never
this
heard
is
of
by Tom.
Loser Wins?
Yeah, I think I might have heard the title, but never actually added it to my list. So by Tom Haugard or Hugard. I don't know how that's pronounced. Yep. All right, we'll put that link in the show notes as well. Definitely recommend as many books 100%. As you can, especially around risk management.
That's I've read.
So it sounds like this one is
right. It just explains, it explains how everyone's mindset is. The market is telling you that it wants to keep going this direction, but you're scared to keep holding it that direction. You're more likely to just jump out of it because you're scared, and then you re-enter in a different direction, and then you lose. You're fighting your own self by going against what you see, and being afraid to lose is another big part of that book that you can see pretty clearly.
I think I know the answer to this one, but given that fear or overcoming fear has been a big shift for you, what do you think is more important, strategy or mindset?
Mindset, 100%.
Yeah.
I don't,
And
strategy doesn't matter, in my
no,
opinion.
I'm gathering that from your approach, given sort of your more intuitive approach.
So I've got a good friend. I won't name a name, but I've got a good friend that made a pile of money trading from like 21 to 23, and he traded options, futures, stocks. He traded so many different strategies, and in this, this is during a time when I was losing my ass, so I was just in awe. And
Yeah.
he'd always be like texting me like, "Oh, I got this new strategy. I'm gonna run this." And then he texted me later that day like, "Oh, I love this strategy. I made so much money on it." And it was every single strategy he tried. I was like, "Dude, it's not the strategy that's making you money. It's you. Like you have the discipline and the mental fortitude to be strong and trade the strategy. That's all it is.
That's
There's
it.
tons of profitable strategies. It's the mental side there, that you have to have
I
through and
totally agree
through."
there. Yeah. And it often comes up even in the context of, more quantitative, systematic or automated trading strategies. They get in the way of their own strategies. Sure, you've got something that's fully automated, a strategy that has edge, but then the first three
Right.
trades come through that are losers and they turn it off, and then it's no longer effective. They're not going to get to that profit. So it's it's
Exactly.
it's definitely mindset. You got to let these things run.
Yep.
I love it.
The testing I've done on that iCaris algo,
Yeah.
I did exactly that. I had a lost day, and I was like, "Oh, I can correct that," blew the account,
So yeah, you just
hands
got to
off, don't touch
trade
it.
it on another prop account. I will trade
Right.
multiple strategies across multiple accounts because I want
Exactly.
them all showing edge.
Yep.
Would you say, looking back at some of your biggest trades, is there a biggest trading mistake that you've learned from?
Um, Putting too much money into the market before you know what the hell you're doing, I would say, is the biggest I've done.
Yeah,
I mean, like before futures, I put like $60,000 in for trading options after I thought I knew what I was doing. It's
sure.
like, well, that went away fast.
Trust me, I've been there. I know exactly what you mean.
Yep. I think it was, like one day during the GameStop bullshit there, I made like 25 grand that day, which was my biggest day of profits ever until like last summer.
You were
And
trading options during the GameStop
this was
move?
trading options. Yep.
Oh, that's beautiful. Nice.
And so then, made 25 grand that day. And then the next day, try to be a hero again and lose like
Yep.
20 grand right off the bat. It's like, well, shit.
Yeah,
You
I've been there. You get to a
shouldn't be
point where
doing size.
you're on a winning streak and you feel like you are a market genius, and then what ends up happening, you're
Exactly.
taking way too much size.
Yep. So
Yep.
that's like part of my mindset right now is, I made a lot of money on Tesla last week. So I'm trying not to sit out in this field by myself and eat into some more Tesla options. I know I sold a bunch this morning. So
So you're still going to live trade some options. You'll still do prop trading. Do you plan on managing some stock portfolios as well, or is that long gone at this point? You're just in derivatives.
yeah, I do stocks. I mean, I not do stocks, but I buy something daily on
Okay,
stocks. I buy
kind of dollar
Tesla
cost
every
average
day.
every day.
Yep, I buy Tesla every day. Uh, I bought up 100 shares of AMD. I switched that over to Snow. I'm kind of start buying different companies.
Hmm.
Tesla's obviously my main focus because I really believe in the company, um, and I see a lot of growth for it. But once I get 1,000 shares of Tesla, then I'm going to start buying something else with that money as well. So,
Got it. So
yep.
circling back to the farming analogy that's always been given. Now that you've been in futures long enough, do you plan on hedging any of your crops in the future, or is that even
No,
a thing farmers do now?
it's definitely a thing farmers do, but I mean, nobody that I know, but
Yeah.
it's nothing that I'll do because we're actually a certified organic farm.
Okay.
Um, so it's not a open commodity exchange traded commodity on it. So it's nothing that I'm really have much interest in. I have thought about trading futures on corn or something just to see, just to do it.
Yep.
But I haven't done it yet because I'm an NQ crackhead. So
That makes sense.
gotta-
Once you find
gotta
the
stick with
asset
it.
you like,
Right.
it's hard to get away from.
Got to stick with what works.
I know what you mean.
Yep.
Corn behind you, or you will be planting corn there. What other things are you growing there?
I'm plowing a field to put corn in next week probably.
Right.
That's what I'm doing right now. So we have soybeans that we plant, oats, and then we've got a bunch of hay that we mow for feeding the cows. So that's the main groups that we do.
So is there anyone else there that has joined you in this trading journey? Or is everyone
Nope.
like, what is he doing?
They're all probably like, what is he doing? Because I haven't told too many people about it yet.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't told too many people about it for sure.
So your local community doesn't know a lot about what you're up to, but Twitter knows everything you're up to. Is that what I'm gathering?
That is what you're gathering. Yeah. My wife knows. I've got one of my best friends
Twitter
in high
famous.
school
I love it.
He found my Twitter account, so he knows. But most people in my life don't know.
And maybe they never will. You'll just live this quiet, successful existence.
Right. That'd be
That's
nice.
great. Yeah. So in the time that we've done the call or the interview here, 35 minutes, how much have you plowed here? Is that a couple acres behind you? A few acres?
Yeah, this is the 100-acre field here. So I probably plowed 10 acres.
10 acres just now. Gotcha.
Yep.
Well, cool. I'm glad we got an opportunity to make sure you're getting your daily work done while we did this interview. I appreciate you taking the time and
Right.
sharing a lot of your story. Is there anything else you think is worth sharing about your trading journey, or what other future traders might need to learn from you?
No, nothing off the top of my head. Just stay disciplined and don't oversize, because those are the two big things. The discipline goes to all aspects of trading, whether it's discipline in sizing, discipline in number of trades, discipline in waiting for your entry, discipline to lock in profit. There's so many different things to be disciplined about. So that's the most important thing. But I would say just be disciplined and don't be afraid to lose.
Don't be afraid. I love it.
Yep, you got to be able to
And
lose.
stay disciplined. Well, great, man. I appreciate you taking the time. This has been fantastic, and congratulations on all the success. I hope you continue to get massive payouts through all of this. And for everyone listening, like we said, we'll put John's links in the show notes here and the book recommendations that he has. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit him up on Twitter as well.
Yep.
John, we'd love to do another one of these, in a few months from now, just to see how things are going and see which field we're plowing next, or at least see some progress on the cornfield.
Right. Yeah, maybe we'll
good,
do one while we're harvesting this field.
Perfect. Well, thanks again for coming on.
All right, thank you for having me.